Hey guys, welcome back to Guide Dogs 101. Today we're actually talking about the application process in order to get a guide dog. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So you're interested on applying for a guide dog. Well, before you apply for a guide dog, there is something that you really need to do. You need to evaluate yourself, whether you have enough skills to get around with a cane, such as O&M. You will not believe how important O&M, or orientation and mobility, is for someone that has a guide or just for any blind person, especially for cane users and guide dog users. O&M is insanely important, but we'll get into that in a bit. So first you need to evaluate yourself. I'm at the point where my cane is great, but I feel that I need to move forward in my life to really get my level of independence higher. And if the answer is yes, then maybe it's time to apply for a guide dog. In order to apply for a guide dog, what I would recommend before applying for a guide dog is to do your research. Find out what schools there are. There are plenty of schools. For me, I got my guide dogs, my first and second guide dog, at Guide Dogs of the Desert. And funny enough, I actually now work for the company. I am actually their peer support associate, so I basically deal with all of our school's graduates, as well as our upcoming students that are actually on our campus that are trained with dogs. So that way, after they are done with the class, after they're done with the program, they know that they come to me for any issues, questions, concerns, all that kind of stuff. They know that they can come to me and I'm going to be there to be supportive and help them out however I can. There's also Guide Dogs for the Blind. Now, Guide Dogs for the Blind, as far as I know, they have two campuses. There's one here in California, and there's also one that's in Boren, Oregon. There's also Guide Dogs for Guide Dogs of America, which is also in California. There's also the Seeing Eye. There's also Guiding Eyes. There's Guide Dogs, and this is all over the place. They even have guide dog schools in England, if you're coming from England, or Europe, for that matter. There's a whole bunch of schools, so I would definitely recommend looking up different schools. Then, when you have picked a school, then I would go onto their website. Right now, the school that I work for is www.guidedogsofthedesert.com. And you can go on there, you can find the application and print it off. If you don't have a printer, you can actually call the school and say, look, I don't have a printer. Can you guys please send me a hard copy of the application? And we will actually send you off a hard copy of the application. And basically, when you receive the application, it comes mostly, for our school, comes in 4 parts. The 4 parts. The first paperwork is your basic information. What is your name? What is your age? What is the date of your birth? And so on and so forth. And it talks about, just your basic information, but also asking what is your disability, and asking, why did you decide to go to Guide Dogs of the Desert, and blah, 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 blah. So that's your basic information. The second part is actually paperwork for your family doctor to fill out, because we want to know if you are physically able to get a guide dog. And it's not because we're trying to discriminate, it's just what we want to make sure that we get you the best dog for your situation. Then there's also the paperwork for the ophthalmologist, because in order to get a guide dog, you actually have to be presented on paperwork as legally blind. Yes, you can say I'm legally blind, and that may be the truth, because your vision really stinks. Hey, trust me, I know that. My vision stinks too. But we just need that on paperwork just to state, yes, you are legally blind, and whatever else the ophthalmologist or eye doctor says. Then the fourth part of the paperwork, and I think this is the most important part of the paperwork, is the video interview application paperwork. So on here is a list of questions about guide dogs. Why did you decide to apply to a guide dog school? Have you applied at other schools? And what sort of breed would you prefer? Or would you leave it up to the school for us to make the decision? The reason for this is so that we can match you and the dog up perfectly personality-wise. And part of that personality is actually also a part of the video application, because we ask to see your mobility or orientation and mobility or O&M whatever skills, because we ask that you have good O&M skills, but we ask that you have had O&M for at least over a year, even if you've just signed up for O&M. We ask for a year's worth of mobility, because basically what we're asking for is for a blind person to go from point A to point B independently, and not asking other people, is it okay to cross the road? We need you to make that decision on your own, and that you do it safely. Okay? Because the thing is, a guide dog is only doing half of the work that you need. Basically, the partnership between you and a guide dog is 50-50. Because a guide dog is basically just making sure that you get from point A to point B safely. You, the handler, it is your responsibility to know how to get to places and how to get to those places, as well as listening for the traffic and knowing when it is safe to cross a parking lot or a four-way crossway street. Or even if you're going into a mall but the parking lot isn't as busy, you still need to listen to know when it's safe to cross the street. Orientation and mobility is insanely important, because you may think, oh, I have a guide dog, I don't need to worry about it. That is not the case. Orientation and mobility is something you will use for the rest of your life, because if you do get a guide dog, the one thing you need to understand is, first and foremost, it is a dog. Yes, it may be a well-trained dog, because most guide dogs, when you get them, they're about $70,000. That's how much a dog costs. Luckily, there are schools that are non-profit, so you get the dog for free, or they just ask for you to pay $150 for the dog and whatnot. But most of the dogs, when you receive them, they're about $70,000. But that doesn't mean that they are a well-oiled machine. Can't you ever notice they're not machines, they're dogs. And that's what you need to understand, because there are days where the dog will be in a mood where, you know what, I don't feel like working today, I just want to be a dog. And you may encourage it to work, but if it still doesn't want to work, then that's a day where you leave the dog at home and you take your cane. You need to use your O&M skills. There are days where the dog will be sick, and you do whatever you can to take care of the dog, but it's a day where you need to go into work or you need to run errands, and your dog is sick. The dog cannot work. So you need to leave the dog at home, leave water by its side, make sure it doesn't eat, because then it's gonna hawk up stuff. And you need to go and use your cane. But even with a guide dog, you still need to use those skills, because you need to listen for the traffic in order to know when it's okay for you to cross the street. Then you give the guide dog the command to move forward so the dog brings you across the street safely. So that is the bottom line of getting a guide dog, is O&M skills. And of course, we ask for the video interview what your O&M skills are, and we ask you to show them. But we also ask you to show your true side, you're goofy or serious or what kind of person you are. So that way we can actually match you and the dog together so that it's a stronger working but also an intimate bond between you and the dog. And we want that and need that. Because we don't want to give you a dog that isn't going to work with you. That's not how guide dog schools work. We want to make sure that we give you a dog that is going to work with you. Again, these are not well-oiled machines. If we actually get to that point, then it's just, hey, here's a machine. All you have to do is program the addresses on places that you want to go in the GPS, and then you just go. And then it has like radars and sonars and all that kind of stuff built into it. But these are living, breathing animals, so please take that into effect. And then, of course, when you do put in your application, there is a period for 6 to a year and a half, 6 months to a year and a half of waiting. And that's not because we're trying to torture you. That's because we are trying to train the dog for what you have put in the application. And it takes time, guys. It takes time. So when that wait time has done, then we are actually going to call you, and we are actually going to talk about you. We're going to talk about your situation. If we have questions that we don't understand about the application, we will call you. It may actually be within the halfway point of that wait time. It depends on when we need to call you. And then, after that, there's a little bit more wait time. Again, this is between 6 months to a year and a half. This is the time period of when these phone calls are going to happen. Then you might get a call from the school saying, you know what, we have a match. Our next class that we would like you to be is at this date. We would like you to be at our campus at this date, at this time, and so on and so forth. And then, by then, you're actually going to be training with you and your guide dog. And then when you graduate, you get to go home and live your life to the fullest independent life you have ever had. I can tell you, my guide dog has allowed me to do things that normally I can't do. And that is absolutely amazing. If it wasn't for my first guide dog, I would have never had the courage to fly by myself. What I mean by that is calling an airline, booking a ticket, scheduling it so that I have someone to help me from checking my bag, to get through security, to get to my gate. And then, of course, from there, I make a landmark at my gate, so that way I can wander off with my guide dog to get food or whatever, and then get back to my gate. If it wasn't for my first guide dog, I would have never had the courage to have done that. As well as organized for someone to meet me at my gate to take me to baggage claim when I've landed. Seriously, he gave me all the confidence I needed in order to do that, and I'm so thankful. Can I fly right now? Yes, I can. I don't want to because we're still in the middle of COVID. Yes, we have the vaccine coming out, but not everyone has had it yet. So, flying is not an option right now. But, when things are back to normal, then I will do that. But because I have a job, even though we're in the middle of COVID, she is now having the more busier life as a guide dog because she's working every single day, except for days which are my day off, aka today. And of course, doing what she does as a guide dog. Again, there are days where she doesn't want to work, and even though I try to encourage her, or depending whether she's sick, I still have to abide by that, and that is a day for me to use my cane. But these are amazing animals. They really are. They change your life forever. They really do. Even if you have to retire your dog and get a new dog, or if your dog has unfortunately passed away, or you had to put the dog down because it was sick, and you apply for a new dog, it doesn't matter. It's just that it's the continuation of your life. And I understand, because for my first guide dog, I had to put him down, and it was hard. It was difficult. It was the one thing in my life that I did not want to do, because I loved that dog like crazy. He was my best friend. He was my partner. And the thing is with guide dogs is that bond is beyond what you have with a pet. Because you're putting your life's trust in the dog, and the dog is putting its life trust into you. This bond is stronger than anything else. Is it hard to put down your dog? Is it hard to see your dog die? Insanely, yes. And when, say, you apply for guide dogs as a visitor, my job is to help you through that grieving process, because I've gone through that before. Some schools have that kind of person to help you with that, and some schools don't. It really depends. With my job, I'm the only blind person with a working guide dog at the school. So the reason I have this kind of job is because of the fact that I have had the experience of having a guide dog, working with a guide dog, as well as going through the grieving process with a guide dog. So there are hard times, but at least if you apply to my school, Guide Dogs for the Deaf, you know that I am here for you, and I'm going to do whatever I can to help you get through this grieving process. With the application process, if you have had a guide dog and it had to retire, or it had to be put down, or if it's died of old age, what we ask is that you take time off. Before you reapply, we ask you to take some time off so that you can take the time to grieve for your animal, to grieve for your dog, to grieve for your partner, your best friend. Because if you decide to have your dog retire, or if your dog has passed away, and you immediately apply for a dog, that can be so difficult. Because when you do hear, we have a match when you're at the school at this time of this day, and you get there and it's the day of you getting your dog, I guarantee that guilt will hit you like that. It will hit you, because you're just like, why am I doing this? Why am I getting a second dog? I'm still grieving over my first dog. So we ask you to please take the time to grieve for your dog, and when you feel that you are emotionally ready to get another guide dog, then please apply. We don't want to be the kind of people, no school wants to be the kind of people that says, well, we don't want to give you a guide dog because you're mentally unstable. We want to give you the guide dogs. We just want to make sure that you're at the point when you're ready to get the guide dog. We want to make sure that you are okay. That's basically it. I certainly hope that this video has helped, as well as ideas for future ideas if you're reapplying for a guide dog, depending on where you're going for school. I really hope that this has helped. If it has, if you enjoyed this video, then please go ahead and hit the like button. If you have questions, I encourage you to leave questions in the comment section down below. The reason for that is because your questions actually give me ideas for future videos. So, of course, I have my own set of ideas for videos and everything, but you guys can actually ask a question that I did not think about, and that can be a future video. Sorry, I cannot talk today. Video. So please comment down below and ask questions or statements or whatever. If you did like this video, and if you're new to the channel, then please consider hitting that subscribe button. I really encourage you to. There's going to be a lot more videos in the future to come, and I just want to make sure that you get all the education and knowledge that you need for guide dogs. Okay, and of course, if you did hit subscribe, then please hit the bell. Hit the bell will give you notifications for every time I upload a video. And I think that's pretty much it for me today. I hope you guys are doing well. You're doing everything to stay safe. You're wearing your masks until you're vaccinated. Even when you're vaccinated, please wear the mask, because you never know who around you is still unvaccinated. So please take the time to take care of yourself and others. I hope you are well, and I will catch you all in the next video. Bye, guys.